Meridian time. This is Starr today with me, Emmanuel Agyabeng. Coming up and leading the block in the next 90 minutes. President John Dramani Mahama restores hopes in investors as he pledges to restore the country's economy to its glory days.
Notwithstanding this gloomy background, I remain committed to leading this government and taking every necessary step to reset our economy, getting things back on track, and working with the good people of our country to build the Ghana we want.
A wobbly promise of adequate healthcare infrastructure from President Akufo-Addo. Well, President Mahama discloses approximately $400 million spent on Agenda 111 hospital projects under the previous administration, yet not a single facility is fully operational.
During the COVID-19 pandemic, a promise was made to build 111 hospitals. Mr. Speaker, I'm sad to note that there is no dedicated funding source. There is no dedicated funding source for this gargantuan project. As for the record, as I speak, not a single Agenda 111 hospital is operational.
We'll hear from the largest opposition party on this, but civil society organization Send Ghana has urged government to allocate domestic funds to tackle public health emergencies.
FIJAL is following, and so you have K2 Assembly has been allocating funds annually for emergency preparedness, in case it should happen, and that is what we are calling for. Much as the districts are doing it, we also want the national to establish a fund.
Meanwhile, persons alleged to be involved in the controversial ghost names scandal at the National Service Authority are to be declared wanted with their assets frozen, President Mahama declares.
Unfortunately, some of these suspects are believed to have absconded from the country already. I have directed that they be declared wanted and their assets traced and frozen until investigations are completed.
Investigation underway into the death of fourth-year KNUST student whose lifeless body was found on campus earlier today. We've got the details of these stories and many others. They can stay with us for the next 90 minutes of the broadcast.
Starr News is coming to you live on Ultimate 106.9 FM in Kumasi, Empire 102.7 FM in Takrady, Cool 103.5 FM in Ho, Rage and Might FM in Tamale, Somali FM in Wa, My Star Radio in the USA. Also live on Facebook on Starr 103.5 FM and on starfm.com.gh around the world. This is Starr 103.5 FM.
Many thanks for tuning in to the bulletin tonight. We assess, digest, and bisect the state of the nation's address and get reactions from sector players in agriculture, health, and security, and also hear from a governor's analyst.
Today, inspired by the Almighty God and propelled by the massive mandate given to me by the good people of Ghana, I am moved to make a similar purposeful and bold declaration that I, John Dramani Mahama, I will fix the economic crisis confronting our country and reset it on a path of growth and prosperity.
Let's start from the economy. Hopes of investors restored as President John Dramani Mahama has assured the nation of his full commitment to tackling the economic challenges currently facing the country. According to President Mahama, the unbearable and severe economic challenges facing the nation will be placed back on a path of growth and prosperity, delivering his first State of the Nation address in a second term to Parliament earlier today. President Mahama emphasized that it was not his style to lament or shift blame in the face of adversity. First, he started by painting a gloomy picture of the state of the nation. According to him, the state of our nation is not good.
Electoral margin of nearly 1.7 million votes. Separating me from my next opponent, giving Ghanaians the first female vice president, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyemang. For the National Democratic Congress NDC, that resounding victory is a selfless call to duty from a people who are tired of years of economic hardship and poor governance. That call therefore places an obligation on us and all who serve, including legislators from both sides of the House, to do our utmost with decency and humility to change the circumstances and the state of our country. Mr. Speaker, as I stated earlier, Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution requires that I give an account of the state of our nation to Parliament. I'm sad to report that the state of our nation is not good.
He says, not good indeed, he says, but according to him, he remains committed to leading this government and taking the necessary steps to restoring our economy.
In the next 4 years, our debt servicing will amount to 280 billion cedis. And this comprises of 150 billion for domestic debt and 130 billion in external debt servicing. Our catastrophic debt position has also severely impacted infrastructural projects that should have been completed. Currently, there are 55 stalled projects due to the default of debt and subsequent restructuring, with a total value of $2.95 billion not disbursed. The stalling of these projects is expected to result in a cost overrun of about 15 billion cedis. Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding this gloomy background, I remain committed to leading this government and taking every necessary step to reset our economy, getting things back on track, and working with the good people of our country to build the Ghana we want. Mr. Speaker, we are doubling our efforts to complete all outstanding structural reforms. Through the budget, we will implement corrective measures to restore fiscal discipline and debt sustainability. We're also working hard towards completing the upcoming fourth review of the IMF-supported program. The review is scheduled from April 2nd to April 15, 2025, and the IMF Executive Board is expected to approve it in June of this year. As we have done previously, we're also building buffers in the sinking fund and adopting prudent debt management practices to ensure prompt repayment of upcoming domestic and external debt maturities. In this respect, government successfully honored the matured coupon payment of $6.081 billion in cash.
We'll bring you more on government honoring and indeed paying the coupons and putting in place enough buffers. But let's talk about government's intention to eliminate unnecessary expenditure and reduce its reliance on bullion.
With the transparent and prudent measures we have implemented since taking over the administration of this country, I urge my countrymen and business owners with the transparent and prudent measures we have implemented.
For that break and sound. But indeed, President Mahama has called for the minority to participate in the upcoming national economic dialogue. But before he did that, he indeed refuted claims that buffers that were left by the previous administration were enough to cover coupon payments. According to him, only $64,000 and some 1.4 million Ghana cedis were left in the sinking fund.
There have been claims that buffers were left on coming debt repayment this year. This fund shows a balance of only $64,000 in the dollar account and 143 million Ghana cedis in the cedi account. The repercussions of the accumulation of debt and economic mismanagement will require extensive work and sacrifice to repair. In the next 4 years, our debt servicing will amount to 280 billion cedis. And this comprises of 150 billion for domestic debt and 130 billion in external debt servicing.
As earlier mentioned to you, the president has called for the minority to participate in the upcoming National Economic Dialogue.
Mr. Speaker, in fulfillment of our 120-day social contract with the Ghanaian people, we have put in place the planning committee to host the National Economic Dialogue. This dialogue is expected to discuss the state of the economy and reach a consensus on the key policies needed to address the devastating economic crisis confronting us. It will support the development of a homegrown fiscal consolidation program, and it will highlight key structural reforms and policy priorities essential for resetting the economy and creating prosperity for all our people. I believe there's absolute wisdom in what our elders say, that two heads are better than one. Tikro and Kwejina. Consultation and consensus building have always proven to be better than unilateral decision making. It is my hope, therefore, that our colleagues on the other side of the divide will display love of country and participate in this national dialogue, unlike the boycott of the Senchi Forum in 2014. I humbly choose a different path of accommodation and cooperation with all stakeholders. We will continuously engage on important issues so that together, as a nation, we can reset our country and focus on sustainable development. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, together we shall build the Ghana we all want.
We shall bring you a conversation on matters raised about the economy as indicated by the president in his first State of the Nation address. But before that, Ghanaians who are experiencing power outages, President Mahama has assured that the West Africa gas pipeline has commenced its pigging and recent power outages will be indeed addressed.
I've been informed that the pigging exercise will be completed in the first week of March. And once again, the flow from Nigeria, we are anticipating a marked improvement in the power situation once this begins. While the current state of our energy sector poses grave concerns, we must remain resolute in our commitment to restoring stability. I've directed the Minister for Energy and Green Transitions to implement far-reaching reforms, including enforcing a single revenue collection account, strictly adhering to the cash waterfall mechanism, and eliminating all wasteful expenditures by the state utility. Mr. Speaker, following my directive, the Minister has set up an advisory committee to guide the participation of the private sector in metering and billing in order to improve efficiency in revenue collection and also reduce the high commercial and technical losses that are threatening to drown the state-owned utility company. A pilot partnership between ECG and Enclave Power has proved highly successful and provides us with a workable framework. ECG provides bulk supply of power to Enclave Power Limited. This is an organization in Ghana. Enclave Power provides meters and bills to all companies operating in the free zones enclave, with 99% revenue collection and nearly 100% uptime in power supply. This is being done here in Ghana. We can use it to cover the rest of the nation to ensure that we get revenue compliance and be able to bring down tariffs for our people. Mr. Speaker, I'm still getting used to being president.
Well, he added that the government will soon operationalize the Renewable Green Transition Fund.
We also aim in the medium term to achieve 100% gas utilization for power production and to eliminate completely the use of crude oil and fossil fuels. This will save Ghana hundreds of millions of dollars spent on the importation of fuel oils for power production annually. With regards to renewable energy, this administration will soon operationalize a Renewable Energy and Green Transition Fund to enhance efficiency and accelerate Ghana's transition to renewable energy. This initiative will drive investments in sustainable energy solutions, including solar street lights, rooftop solar installations, off-grid solar systems, electric vehicle charging stations, and rechargeable outboard motors. These measures will reduce dependence on the national grid and position Ghana as a leader in Africa's green energy transition. Mr. Speaker, Ghana's petroleum sector has witnessed a precipitous decline, with crude oil production sinking by more than 32%. This has resulted from the high opacity levels, a very hostile business climate, and excessive political interference in the sector, culminating in most of the major oil companies exiting and stalling all upstream activities. The decline in upstream activity is obvious to any person familiar with the twin cities of Sekondi and Takoradi. Just under a decade ago, these cities were the bustling epicenter of fabrication, logistics, service activity associated with the upstream oil and gas sector. Unfortunately, my recent visit reveals many shut down facilities and many businesses have packed and left the shores of our country. Hundreds of workers have been laid off and left unemployed. I wish to assure the good people of Sekondi Takoradi and indeed the whole Western region that we are going to breathe life back into your area.
Well, in breathing life back into that area, the president didn't fall short on his promises as well to the agri sector. We'll be speaking shortly to the General Agricultural Workers Union, but before that, the president says his administration will put in place the necessary mechanisms to address high food inflation in the country.
Of over $2 billion annually. In addition, rising food inflation is burdening households and threatening livelihoods. To address this, we're implementing several well-considered policies to grow the agricultural sector, including agro-processing. This will be backed by reliable power supply to meet our country's needs while advancing exports to earn foreign exchange and strengthen our economy. Mr. Speaker, the Agriculture for Economic Transformation Agenda, AETE for short, will modernize agriculture, enhance agribusiness, ensure food security, it will lower food inflation, it will boost exports, and create sustainable jobs. The Feed Ghana program will increase food production and reduce prices through projects like the Grain Development Project focusing on rice, maize, and soybean production.
Let's get some reactions from the General Agricultural Workers Union. We are joined by Dr. Pascal Agyabeng, who is the Deputy General Secretary for GAWU. Doc, good evening and many thanks for your time.
Good evening, and good evening to your listeners.
We are grateful that you made time to speak with us this evening. A number of promises coming in for the agri sector. The President spoke largely about what he's going to do in his government to ensure that farmers are not shortchanged. Are you happy with that?
Provided, many a times these things we hear, but when we hit the ground running is where we would then tend to be happy or not to be happy. But if whatever the president is saying turns out to become a reality, then we in the agriculture sector we should be happy about it. Well, for instance, when you look at the fact that he's talking about the Agriculture for Economic Transformation Agenda, it's a very laudable thing because looking at the areas that it is going to focus on, enhance agribusiness, food security, which will result into low food inflation. These are things which will end up boosting the sector. But we have always said that the core sectors within this country, the agriculture sector. So if focus is focused within this value chain, then the kind of results we want will be very magnificent. Because if you look at food contributes a major determiner of inflation. And so if a lot of investment is kept within this sector, food inflation will come down. And if food inflation comes down, basically everybody will have peace of mind to work.
Indeed. Speaking of food inflation, the president lamented the fact that as a country we are importing so much food. He mentioned in excess of $400 million when it comes to even poultry. That's not largely within your purview, I would say. But then, for you as farmers, what direct support would you need from the president? Not just mere words, as you put it, but then what direct support would you want to see? Actionable plans you'd want to see in the interim to ensure that really we bring food inflation down.
Yes, you see, what is it? Most of these poultry is part of agriculture, actually. It's just that has to do with birds and livestock, but it's part of agriculture. So it's part of our value chain. But the issue has to do with the fact that if you want to modernize agriculture, we can modernize agriculture by continuing to do things the way we've been doing it. We must target agriculture and we must be purposive in whatever we are doing. We can't continue to do subsistence agriculture and want to get outcomes for commercial agriculture. If we want to do agriculture and want the needed results, then we must invest in commercial agriculture. And commercial agriculture means that we must target people who have the needed capacity and invest in those people to give us the needed results. So we must identify people who have the needed capacities, invest in them for them to go into commercial agriculture. They in turn will then so change it to we those in the grassroots for them to also benefit from it, by operating the outgrower system. But if we want to continue doing agriculture through the subsistence system, we can't get the kind of results we want in terms of improving upon our food export and having a lot of food in our basket for us to even think of exporting it. Most countries that have gone out of the agricultural drought and have become food secure are people who have targeted agriculture and have targeted individuals with several the capacities and invested money into those people for them to give us the kind of terminals we want. That is why, for instance, the first president of Ghana came out of the giraffe farms, the whatever farms. It is because they were targeted. You can't be doing subsistence agriculture. Agriculture must be seen as a business.
Pascal, speaking of farming, the president intends to create a program that will see to the 30,000 employment of 30,000 young people in the sector under the Agri Next program to facilitate access to land banks by young farmers. Largely, the president will connect, per the policy, they are going to connect graduates with opportunities and ensure that we have some young persons in the sector. Do you find this laudable, and what process and what means you informed you wanted to take?
Yes, the program is laudable. However, for us to achieve any result within that program, we must first target the agriculture extension services. You can't, no matter what kind of investment we do, especially at the subsistence level, if we don't have people to give the needed know-how for the work to be done, then we won't get any results out of it.
Yes, on the agri extension offices, the government intends to have farmer service centers across districts in the country. Yeah, that should do it for you.
No. Farmer service centers are just centers where me as a farmer want to go into agriculture, I go into that place and then a certain form is given to me to fill, depending on what I want to farm. Then they assist me to do it. But there must be people there who have the technical know-how to do the assistance for me. Service centers are just areas for where farmers themselves will go, but not people technocrats. So the service centers, for the service centers to operate, people must be on the ground to help us. After I've come to the farmer service center, I will now move into my community to do the farming. So if I move into my community to do the farming, well, right now we have a great farmer extension ratio of 1:1,500. If we don't close this gap and make it say 1:500, then this farmer service center thing will not give the needed results we want. And so there's a lot of people have turned out from the agricultural colleges of education, and they are sitting home, no employment. The last time people were employed from the agricultural college is over 5 years now that people got employed. Meanwhile, we are spending money to train these people, and we are not using them.
Dr. Pascal, thank you so much for speaking with us here on Starr today. Dr. Pascal Achongba is the Deputy General Secretary for the General Agricultural Workers Union. He spoke on matters relating to agric in the President's first State of the Nation address. But let's get back to matters concerning the economy. Despite mentioning and indicating that we have had to suffer loss and that the criminal mismanagement of the economy, according to President John Dramani Mahama, by the SWAO and Nado administration, he intends to eliminate unnecessary expenditure and reduce reliance on borrowing for our country to get better. Let's take a listen to that bite now.
With the transparent and prudent measures that have been implemented since taking over the administration of this country, I urge my countrymen and women, business owners and foreign investors to trust our competence in turning our economic forces around. Mr. Speaker, since we took office on January 7, 2025, we have upheld our commitment to a fiscal consolidation agenda with a streamlined government. We have eliminated unnecessary expenditures and reduced our reliance on borrowing.
Let's speak to Dean of the School of Business at the University of Cape Coast, Professor John Gachi. Prof, good evening.
Good evening.
President Mahama indicates and paints a gloomy picture of where we are coming from as a nation and promises that he made that bold statement that he will get us out of the economic crisis. Is that a promise you believe in first?
Well, I think that is a good promise. We are not looking for someone who only paints the picture as it is, but we also want someone who paints the picture and give the bold commitment to resolve the problem we face. So having painted the picture about the economy, the sectors of the economy, educational sector, the energy sector, the finances, thinking fund, etc., it is heartwarming that he indicated that he is ready to face the problem and take Ghana out of the crisis and chart the path of economic recovery and transformation that will provide prosperity to all Ghanaians. And that is what we expect a leader to do, and he has done that.
The economy for his government, largely for the Ghanaian people, what we are largely concerned about is the amount of money we get in our pockets and how much we take out to spend and how much we get to save. For a government looking to reset the economy and tells us that this is where we are and this is where we have to get to, what should be their priority when it comes to ensuring that the personal economy of people are better?
Well, the personal economy will be seen in the level of inflation, especially food inflation. And the president has articulated how that will be dealt with from the production point of view, how it will be dealt with from coordination between sectors, and then how that will be dealt with a new program to ensure production and then focusing on some food crops to target for increased production. He has actually mentioned how we are spending about $300 million to import about 95% of the poultry needs of the country. We believe that we have the capacity to produce within that sector to reduce import and create jobs for our people. So it is when inflation is down, it is when food inflation is down, it is when jobs are created, it's when productivity has gone up that Ghanaians will be happy, because Ghanaians want their basic need to be taken care of first, and then thereafter they can seek to other big things. So I believe he understood that, and he has made a play towards that. So that is what I think will be happening.
President Mahama did indeed indicate to us the situation on our sinking fund. But for me, for a government, the whole debate about what we left in the sinking fund and what it should do for us, and given the fact that he mentions that over the next 4 years, 280 billion in debt servicing is expected to be done. As of now, if you're looking at the data based on government communication, only 9.7 billion has been put in the sinking fund. How do we ensure that we'll be able to service our debts? Because 280 billion is the next 4 years. Indeed, it's just early days yet. But how much allocations are we expected to make into the sinking fund to ensure that we adequately provide for the debt servicing that we have to cater for as a country?
Well, sinking fund could be seen from two perspectives. One, sinking fund established specifically towards managing specific debt. And then you can also have a broad sinking fund, which we call debt servicing account. So we may have to take a look at it again. This sinking fund is not for a specific debt. It's for managing all the debt we have. And therefore, we need to be putting periodic money into the sinking fund to be able to amortize the debt that we owe. And I think that we have not been paying much attention to that. That is why we have low figures in it. And that exposes us to our creditors, and that defines us as a very risky country in managing our debt. But I believe in the manifesto, in the pronouncement of the minister and the president, it is very clear that much more attention we pay to sinking fund, to restore the sinking fund, to make preparation towards retiring of debt when they fall due. So I believe that is the most important thing now. The rot has been created by paying less attention to sinking fund in the past. The government has made pledges to ensure that sinking fund become part of our debt management strategy, and by that we have to pay attention to restore the sinking fund to be ready to amortize debt before due.
Professor Gachi, speaking of debt, there's been concerns, and I want your thoughts on this. There's been concerns about government's activities in the money market, domestic markets, in respect of the treasury bills. At various auctions, you see government's rejection of some bits out of the proposals that are coming. But people have raised concerns, especially the opposition, to say the government is taking 59 point somewhat amount billion cedis in the money markets over a short period, and they say this is alarming. Not paying attention to even the interest rate that is coming down. Do you agree or not with the assertion that this is alarming?
I don't need to agree or not, but the situation is that we have left the long-term debt market unrepaired as a result of the debt exchange program. Confidence in that market is not rife, and as a result of that, we have created a situation where investors do not have option, but they have to necessarily invest through treasury bill, and they cannot keep money in their homes. The money must work for them to earn interest for them, so they are forced to invest in that. What we need to do now is to quickly repair the long-term debt market of the country, so that we can start issuing long-term debt instruments like 2 years, 3 years, 5 years debt instruments, so that some investors can prefer those instruments and apportion their funds between treasury bill and those instruments, and so that we allow the debt market to work effectively. It is not in the interest of the country in the long term to operate so much within the short-term market to finance long-term activities. The treasury bill actually is for liability management in the short term. It's not supposed to be raised to finance any long-term activities. When that happens continuously, it creates another pressure for the economy. So all these things are telling us that we need to repair the domestic debt market and allow it to start issuing longer-term instruments to attract investors who are interested in that.
Prof, finally, before I let you go, there was an alarming concern that was raised by the president, and then that is in respect of the debts that state-owned enterprises have accumulated over time. ECG in excess of 30 billion, and Cocoa Board even though we do know that the Cocoa Board runs on a syndicated loan facility. You take the loan, you sell, you buy from farmers, you sell, you pay back. And so you would wonder why Cocoa Board would have some debts in that regard. But state-owned enterprises and government would have to even come in and give them some on-lending facilities from the Ministry of Finance to help their operations, the management of state-owned enterprises. I have come across assertions that suggest that let's lay off some entities, and even for the extractive sectors, people have said let's renegotiate the terms of agreements and the terms of ownership when it comes to state-owned enterprises for those that are not profitable to the state. What do we do?
So let me start with the last one. For the extractive sector, it's not as easy to renegotiate contracts that have been engaged in. Normally, we call something stability clauses. So if those contracts have stability clauses and you want to change them, unless you do that in a democratic effort where the two parties agree that they need to vary the contract in the interest of the country, it becomes very difficult to do. So that is one thing. And the second one is that that tells us that when we are entering into contract, we need to be bearing in mind that there are implications for money, and we need to protect the best of the country while we are doing whatever we are doing. The SOE sector in general is problematic. It's problematic in the sense that some of them have not actually issued audited financial statements for a very long time. Government are find a solace in SOE sector to recruit people unnecessarily above the threshold that they can take. They order them around to do things that they cannot do themselves. Cocoa Board, we have seen a lot of interference from government into the finances and arrangement of Cocoa Board. If we want to solve that, that is the approach that we should be doing to allow Cocoa Board to operate on good governance practices. We should reduce the interference regarding the use of their money to do projects in the name of government. We should do the same thing for the energy sector. And then where the aspect that we need to introduce private sector participation to bring efficiency that will inure to the benefit of Ghanaians, we need to do that to ensure that the purpose of creating them is achieved. I think the purpose of creating some of the profit-making SOEs is to allow them to operate as though they are private sector entities. But that is not what we are seeing. So those are the reforms that we ourselves need to ensure that they happen. If we don't take those steps, we will be surprised that we may see the same thing reoccurring under this government. So this government needs to take steps further. Some of the state-owned entities which have to offload part of their shares on the stock market to allow private sector participation should be explored so that we know that another regulatory entity is looking at their performance and gauging their performance in line with their benchmark. So these are the multiple strategies that we need to adopt to make the state-owned entities perform the way we want them to perform.
Prof, thank you so much. Prof, next week, the 3rd and the 4th, the National Economic Forum will be underway. Should we expect a paper from you?
No, I'm a member of the planning committee, so we have arranged people to speak on systematic areas, selecting people based on different political ideologies, different school of thought on the subject matter. We have arranged people. We have met the chairpersons of the thematic areas. We have met the presenters on the thematic areas. They are happy that they are going to do this work as a national effort, but not as a political effort. We have invited political parties to participate. We have invited union leaders. We have invited academics. We have invited private sector business people, including media, to participate. So that is the spirit within which we are engaging this assignment. And lastly, we are grateful because the president keeps indicating that he will abide by the recommendation of the forum, and that recommendation will influence the 2025 budget, and it also influence the medium to long term economic strategy for the country, as will be spearheaded by the National Development Commission, and the various ministers, sector ministers will also take a cue to implement the policy. So that is what we are expecting to happen on the 3rd, on the 4th. Ghanaians who are not invited to participate should glue to their television, because it will be telecast live, and then it will be live streaming on social media. They can send their inputs to be considered for discussion as part of the final write-up for recommendation.
Professor John Gachi, thank you so much for speaking with us here on Starr today.
Thank you.
Grateful for your time. Professor John Gachi is the Dean for the School of Business at the University of Cape Coast.
Starr today, first, fast, and credible.
We shift focus to health now, and here President John Dramani Mahama has revealed that nearly $400 million was spent on the Agenda 111 hospital project during the previous administration. However, despite the significant amount of money spent, not a single facility under the project is fully operational. It was launched in August 2021, aimed at improving healthcare infrastructure across the country. But during his maiden State of the Nation address, President Mahama indicated that despite this considerable financial commitments, none of them have been completed or made operational.
Mr. Speaker, next, our health sector faces significant challenges that jeopardize the very foundation of affordable health care. The Ministry of Health has a total liability of nearly 15 billion cedis, when co-financing obligations, judgment debts, and payments to clear medical commodities and reports are all put together. The last major hospital equipment replacement program was undertaken in 2014 when I was president. Since then, most hospital equipment in the Ghana Health Service facilities have deteriorated or broken down. Mr. Speaker, the Agenda 111 program, which was started as a knee-jerk reaction during the COVID-19 pandemic, when the Ghanaian public had begun to appreciate the significant investments that the previous NDC administration had made in healthcare facilities, and began to lament the many hospital projects that had stalled under the previous administration, a promise was made to build 111 hospitals. Mr. Speaker, I'm sad to note that there is no dedicated funding source for such a gargantuan project. There is no dedicated funding source for this gargantuan project. Mr. Speaker, for the record, as I speak, not a single Agenda 111 hospital is operational. In any part of Ghana, I challenge you, not one is operational.
He said in the State of Nation address today, not one is operational. We have been joined over the lines by Dr. Ikia Amwako. She was the manifesto spokesperson on the committee, she was the manifesto spokesperson on health for the as well MPP government's flag bearer, that is Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Dr. Ikia, good evening.
Good evening, Emmanuel.
We are grateful that you could speak with us this evening. This is the alarming statement being revealed by President John Dramani Mahama. $400 million spent, not even one is operational, and he has challenged everyone else to step out there to check on this. How do you respond exactly to this assertion by the president?
I think if this falls into the line of President's wobbling stance on the Agenda 111 hospital projects, Initially, when we came up with this maverick idea to achieve the Sustainable Development Goal 3 of better health for all and universal health coverage by making sure every district has a hospital, and we achieve the goal of primary health care by providing regional hospitals for all the newly created regions, and boosting our psychiatric abilities by building 3 psychiatric hospitals as well, 1 national psychiatric and 2 regional psychiatric hospitals. He said it was too overly ambitious and so many things, as has become characteristic of the NDC. When someone else has a good idea, what they seem to do is to want to mudsling as much as possible. That's a good idea. So this project started in earnest about 2 years ago. And the way it was done, it was broken down into bits. So about 30 were started at a go, then the others continued. So the first 30, as we said over and over and over again, most of them are over 70% complete, which we have evidence of. There are videos everywhere that I'm sure a lot of people have seen. I'm also going to urge members of the press, you can also join us and we will take you around some of these facilities, because I personally have toured a number of these facilities. On 5th December 2024, the ex-president Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo commissioned 3 of these hospitals, 2 in Ashanti region, 1 in Cherde, 1 in Ofoikum, and 1 in the Ahanta West district of the Western region. These 3 were commissioned by the former president. Initially, I think what the current president said was that only 1 was complete and there were no beds and whatnot. And we came out to point out that respectfully, Mr. President, that's not the true state of affairs. Because during the commissioning, members of the media were there. Emmanuel, I'm sure there were reps from your media network who went to the president at that time to tour these facilities. And everything was there, down to oxygen lines, down to theater beds. And what is left is to operationalize it. Even before we left office, we were in talks with the Ghana Health Service and Ministry of Health to be able to determine how much staff would be required and to go ahead with getting financial clearance for the staff in these hospitals. It's something that if the MPP government had continued, we would be having this conversation, because we would have operationalized those 3 and gone on to complete, especially the first batch of 30 that are over 70% complete. So again, we don't see where these constant lamentations on the projects are coming from the current president, because after he realized that the people of Ghana were strongly behind this idea, he did come out to promise that he was going to complete all these Agenda 111 projects. So where from this sudden change in stance and constant lamentation? I also heard him say that it was just a knee-jerk reaction to COVID. And I found myself wondering, is this the president soft launching his stance of halting the projects and not completing them as he promised? Because again, if you are building over 30 hospitals, and for most of these, especially the first batch of 30, the for the equipment to fill out these hospitals have already been done, and all of this is in handing over notes. So I think it's a little disingenuous to try and create this picture, especially when it's coming from a president who has been there before. And during his time, he had spent over 300 million, about 330 million on UGMC. But when he left office, it wasn't operationalized. We came, did the needful, completed and operationalized it without going about this tirade of complaining every 2 days about something that has come to help the people of Ghana. The Agenda 111 hospitals, when complete, are not going to only treat MPP members. They are going to treat all people, everybody who is Ghanaian. The hospitals are not going to only employ MPP members. Everybody is going to be employed there. Modest estimates are direct employment from these hospitals is over 70,000, just direct employment. So this is something that, yes, it is ambitious, but we had a plan to execute it. And he came and said, I'm going to finish it too. So we would expect him to just get the ball rolling and finish it and stop with the constant complaining.
Doc, you mentioned of a plan, and I remember 2020, the plan of your party was to ensure completion by December. It was argued far and wide, but you still maintained your position as a party that you were going to complete them. Now,
I don't think the 2020 is accurate because the whole idea of Agenda 111 came in. We started in earnest, I think, in 2022. So we gave ourselves 18 months from 2022 to complete the Agenda 111 projects, which I have previously said on your network might have been a little ambitious on our part with the timeline. But if you look at it, our ability to even complete 3 of these hospitals in 2 years has never been done before in this country. So our goal of trying to complete all these hospitals in 18 months, yes, it was a little ambitious looking at what happened now in the timelines. But it's something that has never happened before. In fact, in looking at the history of this country, hospital projects, UGMC started somewhere in 2012 and we could not operationalize it till 2019. A lot of the projects that current President Mahama started doing his first term, the Fomena Hospital, Kumewu, Bekwai, he could not complete any of them before he left office in 2017. So yes, I would admit, I'll be the first to admit that the timeline we gave, which was from 2022, from then was a little too ambitious, and our contractors and the whole team could not meet that timeline. But that does not destroy the whole integrity of the projects. No.
I still maintain that in 2020 it was your government's promise, because if you look at the Ministry of Finance data, some 600 million Ghana cedis was released to support health infrastructure. But away from that, you have 3 out of 111, and you want the government to operationalize it. That is the indication I'm getting from you, right?
Yes, we're in opposition, so there's no way we could operationalize the hospitals that we opened on 5th December.
Dr. Kia, we'll leave the conversation here. But even before I let you go, don't you think as a party you owe Ghanaians an apology for not fulfilling a mandate of a promise that you assured to them?
The question is not clear. So the promise, and another thing to clear up is that the impression is also being created that the only hospital projects we complete that we set out to do was the Agenda 111 hospital project. We built over 47 district hospitals across the length and breadth of this country. We completed 7 out of the 9 Eurojet projects. We completed 13 out of the 25 treatment and holding centers we set out to build. And we finished all of current President Mahama's projects that he started that I've already listed, Fomena, Kumewu, and Bekwai, amongst others. So if we start Agenda 111 in 2020, I'm also looking at the Ministry of Health documents that says government secures 100 million startup fund for Agenda 111. This was in August 2021. So I'm telling you as almost a matter of fact that the project actually started from that period. So it really kicked off in 2022. And I've also mentioned that we might have been a little too excited about the timeline we gave, but that does not dismiss the entirety of the project.
Before I let you go, I want you to explain what you mean by operational, because as I speak to you now, the video evidence on social media that looks like these hospitals are not operational. So in your term and your demand for President Mahama to operationalize it, are you looking at he putting in place the equipment, or are you looking at he staffing the place?
The equipment in these 3 hospitals. See, there's this was attempts to mangle the other 30, which we all have videos of those other 30, and the 3 that were commissioned. The 3 that were commissioned have the equipment there. As I already mentioned, the 30 that is in the first cohort of hospitals that we worked on, almost all the procurement for the machines in those hospitals have already been procured. So if you want to operationalize the 3, seeing as we've already interacted with the Ghana Health Service and Ministry of Health for staffing, you can just go ahead and do that. Just as you remember, when we came into office in 2017, UGMC was there. It was not operational, was it, Emmanuel?
You made it operational, but
all that is required when you come in is to operationalize it, meaning hire people, run the necessary tests, and get the building useful.
No, but
that's not something we can do now.
Yeah, but if you've spent 400
to make them operational. The 30 buildings, they are not going to disappear. It's a project that's in continuity. And if you look at the manifesto of the MPP in 2024, one of the things there was to complete the Agenda 111 hospitals. Even as when we were writing the manifesto in August, one of the things, key plans there was to complete it. So if we stayed in office past 2024, we would have had commissionings going on this year because it's an ongoing project. Granted. So if the goal of President Mahama is not to soft launch his cancelling of the project, this analysis and this way of looking at the project doesn't even come in. You just come and you finish it like we've done. It's like, imagine us coming to you when we came into government to tell you that 175 has been spent on the NMS hospital project, but this is not completed yet. So no, we didn't do that. We completed them because the processes for the construction of the hospital are ongoing.
Granted, projects are done in phases and scopes, but let's look at this. The scope of the entire Agenda 111 project, it covers design, procurement, construction, equipment, a mention of 101 district hospitals, 6 regional hospitals.
Actually, about 114 now.
We 114 now. So help me understand now in our audience, which of the scopes of the entire project was completed with $400 million?
Three at full completion, which is the Trede, Oforicrom, and Ahanta West. The first 30 between 70 and 100% completion. That involves Garu, Yagaba, a few things. I can send you the full list after we are done. So that's 30 beyond 70%. And I have toured these facilities personally. That's why I'm talking to you with so much confidence, because I have seen them all. And beyond this 30, there's another group of 30 where all the block work, as you call it, is being done. So they are basically shells of buildings. Then we come back to the first 30 that we picked. The procurement of the medical equipment, because that one usually comes with a long lead time. That has all been done. I hope you're understanding me, Emmanuel.
I get you. So
it's a continuum of something. So it's all that is required is the will to continue. And I hear there was a talk about how we funded these Agenda 111 hospitals from oil proceeds and a little from the budget of the government of Ghana. So we knew how we were going to get these hospitals done. The current president came during the campaign when he saw that this thing was good. He came to tell the people of Ghana that he would complete them. So again, the question is, why all these lamentations now? Because I've explained to you, it is a project that spans a long time. It is a very huge project. You can imagine building 114 different locations.
Dr. Kiama.
And I would actually call on a lot of members of the media to come on so that we can talk, especially the first group of 30, so that we can all put this conversation in perspective. This is a national treasure that could really improve the healthcare system of our country. We are talking about the pregnant woman in Gary not having to travel miles before she reaches a hospital so that we reduce our maternal mortality. We are talking about improved positions for employment. You can imagine the nurses and doctors that are going to be employed. We are talking about achieving the universal goal of primary health care. These are really big goals that we have, that we seek to achieve. And so let me put this on record again. If current President Mahama wants to, as it were, not continue with the project, when we come, we will finish it. And I'm sure at that point, the NDC will also come up with another line of defense against it. Because to me, this is neither here nor there. Especially coming from a president who said, I will complete these hospitals.
We'll leave the conversation here.
Yeah, so if we came and said that, we had completed all the Agenda 111 hospitals before the campaign, and you asked me to apologize, I would apologize. But at that point, we were very truthful to Ghanaians and said, okay, only 3 are completed. The first 30 are this process of completion. This is at this process of completion. Everything was crystal clear. And at that point, President Mahama said, I am going to complete them. So why have you then come and then you are bringing out
their support in Africa and globally? Let's listen to Country Director of St. Ghana, Harriet Agyabeng, speaking to Starr News.
If people use the ambulance, they don't have all the money to pay. They pick money from there to augment. Others have sensitize their communities. The communities are willing to pay, but they want good systems and structures in place. And that is what Lower Manya Krobo is doing. Brim is doing same. Efija is following. And so you have K2 Assembly has been allocating funds annually for emergency preparedness, in case it should happen. And that is what we are calling for. Much as the districts are doing it, we also want the national to establish a fund. And so we are taking it from both angles, bottom up and top down, so that we are secured. In the recent times, we do not have donors wanting to give us as much as they used to give or give us at all. We know what is happening now. And so we should begin to look within. That is the message of our advocacy since 2021, as asking our government to use domestic resources to fund public health emergencies, and that we should look for the money and set some aside.
This is the day. A nation of strength, a nation of pride, a nation of freedom and justice. Ghana, 68 years strong and still rising. This Independence Day, we reflect on our journey, review our progress, and reset for the Ghana we want. A brighter future is within reach by embracing our diversity, nurturing our talents, and working together in unity. We can build a prosperous nation. Let's celebrate with the theme, Reflect, Review, Reset. Key events will include 28th February Crossroads shooting incident, 5th March Presidential Awards for school children, and 6th March Commemorative Guard of Honor at the Presidency. Together, let's strive to build the Ghana we want. Ghana, Ayeko!
Starr Today, first, fast, and credible.
Many thanks for keeping faith with us on this evening's broadcast of Starr Today. But we're still on the State of the Nation's address. President Mahama has painted a gloomy picture of the country's road sector, contrary to claims by the immediate past administration of fixing nearly 13,000 kilometers of road. Have a listen.
Mr. Speaker, while the previous government has made lofty claims about achieving unprecedented milestones in the road sector, available evidence does not support its assertion that it constructed over 13,000 kilometers of new roads. Instead, it has perpetuated a narrative that presents road maintenance and rehabilitation efforts as new construction projects.
To fix this particular narrative and change the situation of our roads in the country, President Mahama says his government will uncap the road fund.
Many key roads in the feeder roads, urban roads, and highway sectors. We will also undertake the following key initiatives to revitalize the road sector. We will reintroduce tolls, road tolls, using modern technology. We will rationalize the road sector portfolio to focus on high-impact initiatives. Mr. Speaker, we will uncap the road fund in order that it can accumulate more money to pay for road maintenance. Mr. Speaker, we will minimize sole source procurement to encourage competition, competitive bidding, and enhance public transparency in the procurement processes. Mr. Speaker, the drip equipment, which was acquired at the last moment as a knee-jerk reaction for electioneering purposes, will be reorganized into regional mobile maintenance units to provide emergency road works in the regions. Mr. Speaker, I realigned the Ministry of Transport to oversee 4 modes of transportation: aviation, maritime, inland water transport, road transport, and railways. The government will commission a feasibility study to develop coastal water transport services. This initiative aims to promote alternative modes of transport and ensure their integration into our existing systems under the National Transport Policy. It also aims to enhance tourism, reduce road traffic, and mitigate environmental pollution. Motorcycles and tricycles, commonly known as Okada, hold significant potential as a more convenient, timely, safe, and cost-effective mode of transport. Currently, the Road Traffic Regulation of 2012 LI 2180 prohibits licensing motorcycles and tricycles for fare-paying passengers. As part of our government policy, the Ministry will amend the regulatory framework to regularize the use of motorcycles and tricycles for commercial passenger transport. In our ongoing effort to revitalize the whole airport, the government will facilitate the establishment of the state-of-the-art pilot training academy and a maintenance, repair, and overhaul facility. The Volta region will become a center of excellence for aviation training and aircraft maintenance.
The 2025 State of the Nation address was not just about policy and governance. It was a roller coaster of humor, drama, and unexpected theatrics, from playful jabs to musical protests. Here's a look at the lighter side of this year's address.
In Parliament today, it was not just the President's words that spoke volumes. Fashion made a statement too. So majority members arrived in various shades of white, possibly symbolizing victory. The minority, clad in black, later confirmed their attire was in solidarity with post-election appointees whose contracts were terminated. The majority chanted, "Resisting oppression." The minority soon turned it into their own battle cry. Amidst the tension, the president inadvertently lightened the mood with a slip of the tongue, drawing laughter across the chamber.
Mr. Minister, Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, following my directive, I'm still getting used to being president, that's why I said Mr. President. Mr. Speaker.
As expected, he infused his speech with proverbs, adding a touch of local wisdom.
Our elders say that a frog's true length can be ascertained only after it has died. I believe there's absolute wisdom in what our elders say, that two heads are better than one.
While the minority remained silent, seemingly taking notes, their leader, Ifutu MP Alexander Penyumaking, was visibly unimpressed, shaking his head in disapproval at some of the president's remarks. Then came a witty moment. The president addressed the infamous Nkukon Kitinkiti project, a phrase popularized by his opponent in the 2024 elections.
The Nkukon Kitinkiti project. We actually have a project called Nkukon Kitinkiti.
As the president wrapped up his speech, but the minority countered with a chant of the Dumsona Bowl, claiming a return of the power crisis. Who had the louder voice? You be the judge. For some, the majority's response to the speech was a no-brainer rubber stamp approval.
Mr. Speaker, it is obvious that they left this economy in a miserable state. And the attire that they adorn today says it all. But this side is in white because His Excellency the President, we knew very well, was bringing to us a message of hope.
But just when it seemed the drama was over, minority leader Alexander Penyumaking stole the spotlight again, this time as Parliament's mathematician.
The President failed to tell us that he came to meet a public and civil service that the government, in spite of all challenges, was able to pay consistently.
A speech meant to outline the nation's progress and challenges ended in song, proverbs and political theatrics, proving that in Ghanaian politics, debate doesn't just happen in words. Sometimes it happens in music.
Interesting scenes and sights and sounds from Parliament, but let's get back to the stories from Sona and engage Emmanuel, who is with the construction chamber. He's the executive officer for the Chamber of Construction Industry in the country. Mr. Emmanuel, good evening.
Good evening, my namesake. How are you?
I'm good. Yourself?
Same here as well.
Great to know. The president intends to uncap the road fund. He has mentioned the reintroduction of road tolls. He says sole sourcing for road contracts will be something that will be done away with. He paints a gloomy picture of the road sector, saying that the 13,000 kilometers of road alleged to be constructed hasn't been done. But for you as an industry, as a construction chamber, I know your concerns largely will be about the payment of the amounts owed you and how contracts are even sourced. Are you happy with the president's pronouncements, especially about doing away with sole sourcing?
Yeah. First of all, we must commend the president and his minister for such a bold step taking. It's a call in the right direction, in the sense that sole sourcing, as you and I know, is one of the procurement measures that they put in place that normally they use for an emergency cases. But somehow, politicians have taken advantage over that particular provisions, and then it's being taken overboard and do their own thing. So, comparatively, it's not helping the country in value for money as long as project financing is so much concerned. So, if the present administration decided to at least do away with that, they cannot do away with completely because it's part of our procurement measures or procedures that we normally, or how they call it, we have in our books. However, its application and then its adjudication is where the issues are. So we must applaud the president that at least he has given us a ground to at least cushion ourselves a bit that is going to be how they call it, done away, even though, as I said, not 100% entirely, but something must be done so that at least we have a fair playground so that others also can come on board and bid, because during competitive tendering, that's where you see the best. The prices and what have you, quotations, indices that they normally use, all of them come first. But so most of the times, they slap additional figures on the contract. So a contract that's supposed to be 20 million, for instance, you would end up sources getting higher, 40 million, 30 million, which is not the best interest of the country. So we thank you so much for giving us such a relief. And then secondly, concerning the capping of the road fund, I said this, we said this over and over. You are our, our testament to this particular story. We've tried as much as possible to appeal to the immediate part of government or the administration, but they paid their ears to it. Thankfully, somebody has come to listen to us. So it's a kudos to that, because the sector is already heavily indebted, and you are capping it as well. Already, you don't have the money. The letter that comes in, you are diverting 25% to somewhere else. And then the same ministry or agency now have the cap in hand, going to the financial market to borrow. Meanwhile, the money is there that can be used to cushion it. Then you go and borrow for interest. So you always keep saddling the sector with a heavily indebtedness. So we thank you so very much that at least it's not going to solve the entire problem, but even if it's 1 billion, that will be bringing into the city for per annum, it will do a lot of service to us, because how much is the certificate of some of the road contractors? Some of the road contractors' certificates are 50,000, 20,000, 100,000, and thereabouts. So if this uncapping comes in, that money could have taken care of these particular people, and then it will at least alleviate the suffering of the masses. So in fact, we thank you so very much. At least we haven't seen the implementation yet, but at least this will give us a comfort.
You're on record to have supported the reintroduction of the road tolls and even the modernization of it. The government says they will reintroduce the tolls and with this time round a modern outlook. Some monies are going to be definitely generated from it. For you as road contractors, first of all, how much does the state owe you at present?
Yeah, sincerely, until recent, that's where we got to know that the other currents. Initially, we were thinking that our debt before the ministry is 15 billion plus. Until recent, that there was during the transition, that's a handing over. That's where the skeletal aspect of the entire picture came out. And then, as we speak now, the records at the ministry, which is almost 35 billion, is what the government is owing contractors, which is outrageous. So just imagine such a magnitude of amount in how they call it scattered across. That's supposed to find its way in the pocket of some individuals, contractors, workers, engineers, and what have you. But it's now been locked up. So that's no wonder the country is a bit choked as a result of what? No cash flow. Because you know, with the contractors, in minute money comes, we distribute. The financial sector gets their cut, the oil sector gets their cut, the service sector gets their cut, and then about. So we are, largely, God has created with the contractors, the consultants, as distributors of wealth. So if a contractor gets money now, we distribute and it affects all the facets of the economy. So if you are treating contractors very poorly, it will affect the foundation of your economy, and that is where the country has found itself as we speak. So, in fact, we are pleading, as he said, is going to introduce a road toll. It's not going to be anything immediate because all those things need, at least, you need to prepare the minds of the populace, do advocacies, forums, and what have you, go in for what they call it, tender, and what it's a process. It's a long process that definitely, but how do you call it, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a step. Just having it on the board, the drawing board that is going to be strike off is a plus to us. Let us collectively, we engaged the minister last week, and then all these issues were touched on. And therefore, we are ever ready as private sector players to assist government in implementing this. Just go to Senegal here. That's Senegal here. They are practicing, a digital tool. I'm surprised. I went to Senegal and said, so even Senegal here, guys Senegal, and then Ghana is here. We say Ghana is the gateway of Africa. Seriously, we are lacking behind. Now, most of the African countries are overtaking Ghana. If care is not taken, if you don't strategize very well, a time will come, nobody will take us serious. Because sincerely, where the other African leaders are taking their countries to, Ghana must sit up. And thankfully, this leader is trying to at least give a hope. Let's try to support him and see what may come out of it. But the larger interest is we need money in our pocket, and therefore should try as much as possible to turn around the economy and then put some money in the pocket to be the contractors. Because
the road tolls will bring some money in excess of 70 million Ghana cedis per month. But yesterday, during the vetting of the Deputy Minister for Roads and Highways, that's the Minister Designate, Al-Hassan Suhini, he indicated that alternative funding model should be explored. He mentioned public-private partnership to boost road construction, and by way of that, if private entities are involved, the funding model largely changes. Do you agree with that? For you, who is largely concerned about the payments?
Yeah, it's something that we also presented to the previous administration, and then we presented it as one of the manifesto policies that to the two major political parties. So therefore, NDC already have that particular document with them, and then we are ever ready to at least support in that quest as well, because what the world is heading to now, government alone cannot take shoulder all the responsibility, especially infrastructure development, because road infrastructure is capital intensive. It's very expensive. So therefore, if you want to shoulder it all single-handedly, in fact, we may not go anywhere as a country. And then if you also want to give it us as a PPP, there are other models that you need to, there are technicalities aspect, because, for instance, let's take it to a motorway, and then you have given it as PPP. If that happens, which means the private player is coming, and then they're bringing such an amount of money, let's say a percentage, let's say 80%, government is bringing 20%. At the end of the project, what's going to happen is, if the project is 500 million or 500, $600 million, that particular role will be told to get that amount of money before, together with interest, before it will be handed over to government. Just imagine the calculation, the mathematics, and see. How many years would that be? It will take almost 50 years for that particular role to be told, and then it could develop its effects, and then the repairs and what have you. So, in fact, that particular issue is something, is a bit technical, and then we need to approach it technically to understand the rudeness of it and then see. Because to you may be thinking that that's the best way to go, but the private developer, private sector player is also trying to protect his end by at least making a revenue, creating a revenue for himself and making some little gain. And therefore, if it do not bring immediate a result within 10 years or 15 years, it will be difficult for a private sector player to come and lock up his money capital for 50 years, 100 years without getting their money.
Emmanuel Sherry, we appreciate your insights on this matter here on Starr today.
The pleasure is mine.
Thank you. He is the Chief Executive Officer for the Ghana Chamber of Construction Industry, Emmanuel Sherry.
Starr today, first, fast, and credible.
Now, tensions flared during the vetting of Deputy Attorney General nominee Dr. Justice Sremsai when Majority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin made an unexpected request to the nominee. The request, involving a dance, caught the attention of First Deputy Speaker Bernard Ahiafo, who didn't take kindly to the exchange. What seemed like a light-hearted moment quickly turned tense as Ahiafo questioned the appropriateness of the situation. Elikuli Mauku has more in this report.
To demonstrate to you that I am the chairman for this particular vetting committee, that may be your last question.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the First Deputy Speaker and Chairman of the Appointment Committee, Bernard Ahiafo, finally dropping the hammer.
I'll urge upon you to withdraw those words used on me.
Chairman, I will not
stand by overruling the question that you are not going to demonstrate any dance.
You were whimsical and capricious in the way you overruled my question. I will not withdraw.
You would not demonstrate any dance. This is not a demonstration forum. This is appointment committee.
So why did the Akachi South MP snap? I'll tell you. A simple request from the Minority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin to Deputy Attorney General nominee Dr. Justice Sremsai during his vetting.
Demonstrate the Akpi dance a bit, just for a second.
Wondering what the correlation between dance and law is? So did the chairman.
Honorable nominee, the question is overruled. You are not going to demonstrate.
The Efutu MP explains.
Apart from the constitutional issues involved, it is also about our culture. We've had nominees speaking their dialect here. The man is talking about a dance that we all don't know until today. He is enlightening me and others.
To which the chairman responds,
Chairman, I will not
stand by overruling the question that you are not going to demonstrate any dance.
You were whimsical and capricious in the way you overruled my question. I will not withdraw.
You would not demonstrate any dance. This is not a demonstration forum. This is appointment committee.
But it does not end there. This quickly becomes a tense situation, which easily could have resulted in contempt.
Drop the word that I'm being whimsical and capricious.
Chairman, I will not withdraw. I'm sorry. I will not withdraw. You rudely overruled me. I will not withdraw.
I would again ask that you withdraw the word rudely.
Chairman, one more time, I will not withdraw. I'm sorry.
Will you withdraw?
Chairman, I'm sorry, I will not withdraw.
Well.
But there are people who think this is nothing serious. Take, for instance, former spokesperson of the Education Ministry, Kwesi Kwarteng.
I'm of the view that this was a non-issue. I mean, question of can you dance is not an imposition on you to dance. It is not as though you must dance at all costs to get passed. I am sure it's just I mean, the usual of trying to ease tension and makes the whole vetting process flexible.
Afenyo would show some respect to the chair, even if he thought he was being whimsical and capricious. Even if he thought that way. I mean, that banter I thought was disgraceful.
But what about Ghanaians on social media? So now you know the context. What do you think? Was it a dance of diplomacy or just a misstep? You decide.
Indeed, you decide. But recent appointments to the presidency have attracted public debate. While some express concern that these appointments are becoming excessive, others believe there is nothing untoward about the president appointing people to implement key policies in his manifesto. In the following News Desk report, we highlight these recent appointments and reactions from the minority leader.
To demonstrate to you that
High life artist Rex Owusu-Mafo, popularly known as Rex Omar, has been appointed by President Mahama as the presidential staffer for the Black Star Experience. As captured in the NDC's manifesto, the Black Star Experience is a flagship culture, arts and tourism brand to make Ghana a preferred tourism destination.
Our flagship initiative, the Black Star Experience, aims to establish Ghana as the gateway to Africa for the global diaspora, featuring thoughtfully curated cultural, historic, and creative arts experiences in collaboration with the private sector, diplomatic missions, ministries, departments, and agencies. Our aim is to position the Black Star Experience as a uniquely Ghanaian tourism brand.
Also, renowned media personality and tourism advocate Abeku Santana has been named Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Tourism Authority. Media personality and creative entrepreneur Kofi Otri-Darko has been appointed as Director of Diaspora Affairs, a position some Ghanaians believe can be handled by the Foreign Affairs and Tourism Ministries. For Minority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin, these appointments are to simply compensate for the reduction in ministerial appointments.
The president again says that he has delivered less ministers. But it is clear that his strategy is, if less, more divide. You have appointed few ministers, but more and more and more presidential staffers and more committees.
As the debates continue, we may be seeing more appointments to the presidency since we've not received a notification yet that appointments have been concluded.
To some rather sad news, the management of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, KNUST, has commenced the investigations into the death of Miss Joanna Agyabeng, a fourth-year science student, biological sciences student, whose lifeless body was found on campus earlier in the day. The untimely death has sent shockwaves across campus, with many students expressing grief and concern over security issues. According to management, the lifeless body was discovered near the KNUST Disability and Rehabilitation Center at approximately 5 a.m. A statement signed by the University Relations Officer Dr. Norris Bakwe says authorities have launched a full-scale investigation into the circumstances surrounding the tragic incident, as well as assuring the university community and the public of their unwavering commitment to the safety and well-being of all students and staff. They are urging everyone to stay calm, avoid spreading unverified information, and respect the privacy of the bereaved family during this difficult time. They will provide further updates on investigations as and when they are able to do that. That's it for Starr today here on Starr 103.5 FM. You're simply the best. My name is Emmanuel Agyabeng. For more news, log on to starfm.com.gh. Many thanks for your time and have a wonderful evening.